My name is Enrique Morones, ENRIQUE MORONES, and I'm the president and founder of Border Angels.
Okay, Enrique, what brings you guys out here? You've been doing this since Thursday. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, Border Angels, this is our 25th anniversary. We actually started in 1986. And when we started, there was no wall. We started in the canyons of North County, San Diego, bringing food and water to our migrant brothers and sisters. And then 10 years later, in 1996, we started coming out to the Imperial Valley Desert to pull water. Because as you know, in 1994, Operation Gatekeeper started. That's when they started building the wall, October 1st of 94. So our mission shifted from just going to the canyons, where we still go, to going to the desert. And then 5 years later, in 2001, that was my last year in professional baseball, because I used to be with the San Diego Padres. And that year I was invited to a program, the #1 Spanish language program in the world, Sábado Gigante, Don Francisco. And it was he that said, El Ángel de la Frontera, or the Border Angel. We didn't have a name up until then. So it became the Border Angels. And 5 years after that, in 2006, started what is called Marcha Migrante. I decided to go across the country on February 2nd, which was Wednesday, this year was Wednesday, February 2nd, which is the day of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, when the United States invaded Mexico and took half its territory. The treaty was signed on February 2nd, 1848. But also on February 2nd is El Día de la Candelaria. It's a day when 40 days after Christ's birth, when he's presented to the temple. And so what we do is every February 2nd, we do what's called Marcha Migrante. The first Marcha Migrante, we crossed the entire country from San Diego to Washington, D.C. And it was to gather people and ask them to take to the streets and march to protest 4437. Marcha Migrante II was from San Diego to Brownsville. And it was to share the stories of the migrants, why we need the immigration reform. Marcha Migrante III was from San Diego to the Canadian border and back. And that one was to get people to vote. Su voto es su voz. California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Utah, Nevada. Marcha Migrante IV, we went up to East Coast, always a different geographic area. Florida to Washington, D.C., to give 50,000 letters to the president, the new president, President Obama, saying we marched, we voted, now it's time to deliver on the immigration reform. Marcha Migrante V was last year, where we walked from Sonora to Arizona. We crossed the border walking, hopped in cars, did a vigil in Tucson, then we did a protest in Arizona against Sheriff Joe Arpaio. We did a series of activities. It's called Marcha because the idea was to get people to march in 2006, and we were very successful. 3 million people marched in March, April, and May of 2006. This is the first one where we're actually walking ourselves, Marcha Migrante VI. We started on Wednesday, February 2nd, Playas de Tijuana, CALEXICO, and San Diego. We did a vigil to remember the thousands of people that have died, crossing borders all over the world, especially this border behind us here. And then we started walking, and we went to visit day laborers in San Diego, bringing food. On Thursday, we went to Tecate. We crossed into Tecate and visited the Casa del Migrante Tecate to bring food and some needy things to some of the migrants that live there. On Friday, the third day, we went to the Holtville Cemetery, where there's hundreds of undocumented people buried. And we went there and we put crosses on the graves, crosses like this one, no olvidadas, because even though they're unidentified, they're not forgotten. So we place crosses on their graves like we do every month. At the biggest cemetery in the country that's not a military gravesite, that's a mass grave. 700 unidentified people are buried there, migrants that died crossing this border. And then that was on Friday. On Saturday, yesterday, we actually walked through the Imperial Valley Desert. So we were walking through the desert. It's only 1/10% of what the migrant goes through, but we wanted to be in solidarity with them and feel that heat, feel that desert sun, and we did. And then today, we walked from the outskirts of Calexico here to the wall. The final journey, the Trail of Tears, because these people that are coming here because they have to, not because they want to. There's deaths every day, and every day we don't have immigration reform, 2 people die. And when we started February 2nd, walking and driving across the border, our colleagues on the other side of the border, they walked all the way from Playas de Tijuana to Mexicali. They'll be arriving here later today. So they're not here yet, and hopefully they'll make it by the time we start the Mass. But if not, they will be here later. There'll be other representatives of them here across the border. But for us, it's very important. We want to give the message that no queremos ni una muerte más. No more deaths, reforma ya, reform now. Ni una muerte más, reforma ya is our call. And we want humane immigration reform. We're asking this both of President Obama and of President Calderon. Because this is a worldwide situation. We want a situation in which people can cross borders looking for their families, looking for an opportunity to feed themselves, like is declared in the United Nations Charter. We should be able to cross borders. And so that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We have people from all over that have joined us. Some, it's their first march. Some, they've been with us before. Like most cases, when we had the most people, that was the first day. And then they might have just joined us from that action. Other people say, I can join you on the third day in Holtville. Or I could join you just today. Like I have some people coming down from LA that we saw them on the road. They should be here any second. and they're joining us just for this action. So it's important because the person that's going to make the change in this world is the person that we look at in the mirror every morning.